guys, welcome back for another video. It's that time. Week 1 of the NFL 2024 season is here. We've already had our Thursday game, our Friday game, and now the only thing left is our Sunday and Monday game. So we're going to be doing our best bets for Sunday and Monday today, looking at the spreads, the money lines, and the over-unders, and what we predict the outcome is for every single game. Go ahead, hit that like button and subscribe. If you have any comments, drop them below, and I will make sure to respond. We're going over every game, every week for both the NFL and the college football seasons, looking at spreads, money lines, over-unders, and predictions. As I mentioned, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. Let's go ahead and get things started. So kicking things off Sunday, September 8th at 1 p.m. on Fox, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers on the road versus the Atlanta Falcons. This game is in Atlanta, Georgia. The Falcons are 3.5-point favorites here, and the over-under is 41.5. For the Steelers, they've obviously had a lot of changes at the skilled positions. They have not one, they have two quarterbacks. You have Russell Wilson and you have Fields. Both of them are probably going to see playing time. Russell Wilson will probably get more, but as of right now, Fields probably has the long-term higher ceiling. Look for them to have a lot of packages for him to come on the field. He's a dynamic playmaker. You've got to at least try to get him the ball and see what he can also do. You know they're going to have a top 10 defense. They're going to be physical. They're going to be well coached under Mike Tomlin. For the Falcons, they've gone through a lot of changes. They have new coaches. They have Kirk Cousins. They have Michael Penix Jr. They have a loaded, skilled team. Landon, Algiers, Bijan Robinson, Pitts. The playmakers are there. The defense isn't bad. They should be favored at home, but Kirk Cousins is going to be rusty. He hasn't played in a long time, but I'm going to go with the Falcons winning this one 20-17, not covering the spread, and I'm going with the under as well. The next team that we're going to look at 1 p.m. on CBS, we have the Arizona Cardinals visiting the Buffalo Bills. This game is in New York. Buffalo 6.5-point favorites here. The over-under 47.5. The Cardinals, Kyler Murray is finally healthy. He's going to be starting the whole season this year. We know that he's dynamic, but what version of Kyler Murray are you getting? The one who lights it up or the one who hasn't done their off-the-field work? We don't know. But as of right now, they're saying he's in the zone right now. We know he can run, throw it. He has weapons. He has Marvin Harrison Jr. getting added to that wide receiver core, the best wideout of the last decade coming out of college. And then you have Bills. They lost Stephon Diggs. He's been traded off. He's gone. That's a massive loss. That was Josh Allen's go-to guy on third down to get those long first downs. But they have Keon Coleman. They have Curtis Samuel. They have playmakers, but their reliable, trusty wideouts gone. You have to expect them to miss him. They also had cap issues. They lost a lot of players on the defense, but they are the favorites. They are at home. They still have Josh Allen. He can light things up. He can have a bad game. Last season started out bad, but had a hot second half. But I'm going to go with the experienced quarterback, the one with the great stats, one of the best quarterbacks in the nation, Josh Allen. I have the Bills winning this one 30-20, covering the spread, and I'm going with the over. The next game at 1 p.m. on Fox, we have the Tennessee Titans visiting the Chicago Bears. This game is in Chicago. Chicago at home, 3.5-point favorites. The over-under 44.5. Tennessee, you have Will Levis, the young quarterback. He did lose a lot of weapons from this team. This is not the same team you saw 2 years ago. Completely different team, especially at the skilled positions. And trusty Derrick Henry, he's now gone. They have a lot of new coaches there. For Chicago, obviously, they've had a massive change. Fields gone. They drafted Caleb Williams out of USC, the Heisman winner. This guy is electric. Had some ups during the preseason, had some downs, but you definitely see the talent there and what his potential ceiling could be. And he has reliable weapons. He has Keenan Allen, and he has Rome Odunze, the wide receiver out of Washington, a big-bodied, young, fast target with really good physical hands who can make those tough catches. He has weapons. There's already weapons on the roster. They got more. So their offense should be able to potentially do fine as long as he does his job. Thankfully, his first game, he's not going versus a top-tier defense. Titans, I would say, have an average defense, so we'll get to see maybe what Caleb Williams is capable of this season. I have the Bears winning this one at home, 24-21, not covering the spread, but I will be going with the over. The next game at 1 p.m. on CBS, we have the New England Patriots visiting the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals at home here are 8.5-point favorites here. The over-under 40.5. That's a pretty big spread, but the Patriots have been pretty bad since Tom Brady retired. Well, since he left the Patriots. For New England, they drafted Drake May. I wasn't seeing it personally. I did not see it when he was at UNC, so I would personally be pretty surprised if he works out and becomes a good pro quarterback. But a lot of people think that the intangibles are there, that the physical attributes are there. We'll just have to see. But unfortunately for him, the Patriots just don't have a good roster. They don't have a good offensive roster. They don't have a good defensive roster. So he's basically starting with an empty cupboard with a first-time head coach. For Cincinnati, that's not the case. You have Joe Burrow back fully healthy to start the year, one of the best wide receiver cores in the nation. If they're all playing, there's been a lot of contract disputes there, but if everyone plays, if they all suit up, this is a much improved offensive line, a great running back and wide receiver combo core, and their defense is not too shabby either, and they're not going to be tested by the Patriots. That's why the Bengals are such favorites at home. I have the Bengals winning this one 27-17, covering that massive spread, and I'm also going with the over here. Our next matchup at 1 p.m. on CBS, the Texans versus the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts are at home, but it's the road team that's the favorites. The Texans are 3-point favorites, the over-under 48.5. Vegas has this being a pretty decently high-scoring game, but you see why. There's two young quarterbacks here. You have C.J. Stroud, who lit things up as a rookie last season. This is a very deep team. You have C.J. Stroud, and you have a very talented wide receiver core, one of the best quarterback to wide receiver combos in the nation. And then you have the Colts. Anthony Richardson, we were robbed of seeing what he was capable of last season because he obviously got hurt after a few games. Now he's fully healthy, so we'll actually get to see maybe what we would have seen last year. I was not high on him coming out of the Gators, but maybe I was wrong. I'm perfectly fine with that. We never got the chance to find out last season. He's fully healthy right now. Colts do not have a bad roster by any means. The playmakers are there. They are at home. So this game could potentially be pretty close, but I'm going to go with the Texans getting the win here. I have them winning this one 27-21, covering the spread, but I'm just barely going with the under. The next game we're taking a look at 1 p.m. on CBS, the Jacksonville Jaguars visiting the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins are at home. They are 3.5-point favorites, the over-under 48.5. A lot of people are going with this spread not being covered. This is an in-state matchup here. The rights for who's the best team in the state of Florida is potentially up for grabs. Both of these teams are playoff caliber teams. For Jacksonville, they had a bit of a letdown last year in 2023. Trevor Lawrence did not play his best. He got his massive contract. The talent's there, but will he be able to actually live up to all of that hype he had coming out of Clemson? We've seen flashes, but we haven't seen them consistently. And he had I would say, an off year last season, but can he duplicate the success he had 2 years ago? He does have playmakers, not as many as last year, but it's a talented roster, definitely a very talented roster. And for the Dolphins, they made the playoffs last season, but they did flame out early. But a very talented team, potentially a team that could finally win their division this season. You have Tua with his massive contract. You have Hill, Waddle, Berrios, Monster, Achin. This is a loaded offensive roster. Defense should be about average, but when you can score that much, you shouldn't expect too much from your defense. Just keep the game somewhat close. I am going to go with the Dolphins winning this one at home. I have them winning 30-21, covering the spread, and I'm going with the over. Our next matchup at 1 p.m. on Fox, we have the Panthers visiting the New Orleans Saints. This game is in New Orleans. Saints at home, 4-point favorites, over under 41.5. This is two teams that kind of spiraled down last season. It was expected from the Panthers because their roster was so awful, but it wasn't expected from the Saints, who actually have a very good roster on paper. Carr did not live up to the expectations. Whenever the offense played well, the defense played bad. Whenever the defense played well, the offense played bad. Will they ever be able to get on the same page? Perhaps we'll find out this year. For the Panthers, Bryce Young did not have a very good first year in the NFL. It wasn't necessarily his fault. He was the most sacked quarterback. They didn't have very many playmakers. His offensive line was Swiss cheese. They're going to be improved this season. When I say improve, that doesn't mean they're winning 10 games. It's just they're going to win more than 2 or 3 games, I'm thinking. Maybe a 4 to 6 range, which is still a massive improvement over last season. But New Orleans, as I mentioned, they have a experienced quarterback. They have Olave. They have a solid defense from last season, but this game could potentially be an upset. It is week 1, but I'm going to go with the Saints winning this one 24-17. I have them covering the spread, and I'm going with the under. At 1 p.m. on Fox, we have the Minnesota Vikings visiting the New York Giants. This team is in the Giants' home stadium. The Giants are going to be 1.5-point favorites here. The over-under is 41.5. This game has all of the makings to be, to me, a very low-scoring, boring game with a lot of mistakes. For the Vikings, they drafted J.J. McCarthy. He's now out for this season, so they're going to be starting Sam Darnold. You know how he plays. He's been in the NFL for a while. Sometimes he shows some flashes there, shows what his talent could be, but a lot of times he has a lot of turnovers, fumbles, throws picks. What version are we going to get? I don't know, but it's probably going to be somewhere in the middle and pretty sloppy. They do have Jefferson. This is a team that doesn't have a bad roster, but quarterback is the issue. The Giants, they also have a lot of issues. They have issues on offense. They have issues on defense. Daniel Jones is fully healthy. He's the starter. He had that big contract. If he's fully healthy, if his body's fully healed, we know he's going to be mobile. With a mobile game, they might be able to get first downs and run the clock. That's why this game is going to be a game decided in the trenches. They also signed Malik Neighbors out of LSU, a solid wide receiver. So he has a go-to target, and then he has those 3rd and 1s. He can probably quarterback sneak it, get the first down. I have the Giants winning this one 16-13. So I'm going to go with the upset pick here because I did mention it wrong. The Vikings are actually the favorite on the road. So I have the game not being covered. I have the Giants winning it 16-13, and I'm going with the under just because I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. Our next matchup at 4:05 p.m. on CBS, we have the Las Vegas Raiders visiting the Los Angeles Chargers. This game is in California. We have the Chargers 3-point favorites over under 40.5. For the Raiders, we know how well they played under Pierce second half of the season. This is a team, though. They're still looking for a true quarterback number 1. They're not a bad team. They have good defensive players. They have good offensive players. It's just, do they have someone who could lead them? Then you have the Chargers with a complete turnover at the head coach position. In comes Jim Harbaugh. That's probably going to work wonders for Herbert. Thankfully for him, he now has an offensively focused coach. Chargers do not have a bad roster in any way whatsoever. They have playmakers on offense. They have playmakers on defense, but they've never lived up to their talent level. But I'm going to go with the Chargers winning this one 20-17. That is a push, and I'm going with the under. I don't think it's going to be a push by game time. I could see that spread changing up or down by then. And there is a realm where the Raiders also win this one. This is probably going to be a pretty close game. The next game that we'll be taking a look at is 4:05 on CBS. We have the Denver Broncos visiting the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle comes in here. They are 6-point favorites, and the over-under is 41.5. These teams have had a lot of changes. Obviously, you have a new quarterback with the Broncos. You have a new head coach with Seattle, bringing a completely new scheme, new coaching staff to the Seattle Seahawks. With the Broncos, Sean Payton's the head coach. You have Bo Nix, who is their new quarterback. This is the perfect type of quarterback for Sean Payton's scheme. He likes an accurate, short-arm passing quarterback. This is perfect for him. So look for him to adapt his style to Bo Nix. This is a massive change from Russell Wilson that they had last season. Denver does not have a bad roster. The main issue that caused them a lot of problems last year was the quarterback position. So can Bo Nix be the permanent fix for that going forward? For Seattle, they've also had a lot of changes at the coaching staff, but they're the better, more experienced veteran roster. They have Geno Smith as their quarterback. They have DK Metcalf at wide receiver. They have Kenneth Walker III at running back. This is a team that can beat you multiple ways, passing as well as running the ball. Look for them to keep the ball out of Bo Nix's hands, play defense, run the ball downhill with Walker, chew up time clock. I have Seattle winning this one at home, 24-20, so not covering the spread, but I will be going over. Our next matchup is one of the most intriguing ones this weekend. 4:25 on Fox. We have the Dallas Cowboys on the road opening up at the Cleveland Browns. The Browns at home are 2.5-point favorites. The over-under is 40.5. This is an interesting game. This is two top 10 defenses. The Cowboys have a top 5 defense, but they are pretty banged up. So they're going to have a lot of starters that probably are not going to be playing in this game. Dallas is very hard to beat at home, but you're catching them on the road week 1. That's why the Browns are the favorites here. But the Cowboys, you have Dak Prescott, you have CeeDee Lamb, you have a loaded defense, a very solid line. Look for them to try to control this game on the ground. But Cleveland has a solid defense as well. They have Deshaun Watson at quarterback. He's kind of the mystery factor because you really don't know what you're getting with him. He hasn't played much in the last 2 to 3 seasons. When he has played recently, it kind of seems like he doesn't want to be on the field. That's what led to him getting benched and injured last year. But he's a very talented quarterback. When he comes prepared, they have weapons at running back. They have weapons at wide receiver. It's just the quarterback position. If Deshaun Watson plays at his level of talent, they can beat the Cowboys. If he's played the way he looked last season, they're going to lose this game. I'm going to go with the upset here. I have Dallas winning on the road just because I know more of what I'm getting with the Cowboys. I have them winning 24-17, so the spread not getting covered, and I'm going to go with the over. The next game at 4:25 p.m. on Fox, we have the Washington Commanders on the road versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This game is in Tampa. Tampa is a 3.5-point favorite. The over-under is 42.5. Washington, you had massive changes on the coaching staff. You had massive changes at the skilled positions. They have a new quarterback, first-round pick, Jaden Daniels out of LSU. He's the reigning Heisman winner. He played pretty decent in the preseason. He's kind of a multifaceted quarterback. He can run, he can pass. Washington did not have a bad offense last season. They were number 1 in passing yards, but their offensive line was awful. This gives them a completely dynamic quarterback. If the line breaks down, he can scramble, he can throw on the run, he can run for first downs and more. So this is a difference maker, someone that we haven't really seen at Washington in a long way. They have a very capable offense, and now they have a potential capable quarterback to lead it. For Tampa Bay, Baker Mayfield had a comeback player of the season last season. He has a very, very talented wide receiver core, one of the deepest veteran wide receiver cores in the nation. They also have a solid defense. Their main skill set is that they can shut down the run game. Look for them to stack the line, try to get a lot of pressure on Daniels, try to force him into some mistakes. For Tampa Bay to run the ball, if they get in some third and longs, they have the wide receivers who are possession wide receivers that can get the first down. I have Tampa Bay winning at home 27-20, covering the spread, and I'm going to go with the over here. The next game could be a potential high-scoring game at 8:20 p.m. on NBC. We have the LA Rams on the road versus the Detroit Lions. Both of these teams are in a run to try to get to the playoffs. The Lions, their goal is the Super Bowl this season. They almost got to the Super Bowl last year. This is a top 5 team in the entire NFL. They have a top 10 defense. They have a top 10 offense. They opened the season in Detroit. They are 4-point favorites here. The over-under is 52.5. So Vegas does have this being a pretty high-scoring game, and you definitely see why. So the Rams can move the ball. They can throw. They can run. They have a very talented offense. They have Stafford. He loves to sling it. They have Nakua. They have Cooper Kupp. They have Williams. They have weapons all over the field. The issue is going to be on defense. That's why this game could be a shootout. Donald's gone. They've lost a lot of players from their playoff run team that they had 2 to 3 years ago, but still very talented, but they're going to give up some points, but thankfully for them, they can score some points. For the Lions, very balanced team. Goff had a great season last year. They have St. Brown at wide receiver. They can throw, they can run, they can score points as well. If this game gets into a possession-by-possession game, it could come down to just whoever has the ball last. I'm going to go with the home team. I'm going to go with the better roster, the very aggressive coach in the fourth quarter. I have the Lions winning this one 28-23. So I have them covering the spread, but I'm just barely going with the under. But I would not be surprised if this game goes over because this is two highly capable offenses. Our next game in the final game, Monday, September 9th at 8:20 p.m. on ESPN, we have the New York Jets versus the San Francisco 49ers. This game is in San Francisco. The 49ers are 4.5-point favorites here. The over-under of 43.5. This is a pretty interesting game. The reason it is because we finally get to see Aaron Rodgers play. We haven't seen him play in 2 years. He only played one possession last year, got hurt, and we missed him. So we haven't really seen him play on the Jets. We don't know how this whole Jets thing is going to go just because we haven't gotten a chance to actually see the guy in live action. He barely played the preseason, only came in at the very end, so he could potentially be really rusty. We don't know what we're getting, but he has a highly capable team. He's going to have a top 10 defense. As long as you have a defense, they can keep this game close. If you keep it within one possession, you have one of the best quarterbacks in recent history at the helm. If he has the ball last, he can take the team down the field, get the scores that he needs. For San Francisco, this is easily the best roster in the entire NFL, top to bottom. They have the best offensive roster. They have the best defensive roster. They have Purdy. They have McCaffrey. They have Ayuk. They have Debo. They have Kittle. There's weapons at every single position, and they're just as talented on defense. They have a top 3 offense. They have a top 3 defense. They are at home. They just missed the Super Bowl last year. Their mission this year is to get back there, win the Super Bowl, and they want to start that out with the Jets. I have San Francisco winning at home 24-20, not covering the spread, but I will be going with the over. This could potentially be a defensively led game. So that's our breakdown of our Sunday best bets, every single game coming up this weekend. Go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe. If you have any comments, drop them below, and I will respond. Thank you.